From the KELOLAND Digital Desk, I'm meteorologist Scot Mundt, and this is Weather or Not for your Tuesday, November 18th. Here's what we have going on in the outline for today. We'll talk about some of these rain reports from eastern and southeastern KELOLAND from last night, even extending into early this morning. Probably had some snow mixed in, not as much as what we thought earlier, but I think we did have a couple of reports of some light snow showers mixed in. It didn't add up to too much, but we had a lot of rainfall across east central South Dakota into western Minnesota, and some of that rain even extended into early this morning in and around the Sioux Falls area. Able to get some rain showers. Thanksgiving, that's in the outline. Thanksgiving week, of course, being next week, and we have a lot going on. Probably warm to start, but I don't want to say cooler, just plain cold to finish. That's the way it may end up being. So we have a lot to look at as we do go through next week. We'll also talk about the cycles and the extended forecast. When I'm talking about cycles or patterns, I'm thinking of that monthly pattern that we've kind of been on with the cold air intrusions. We'll have a recap of that coming up too. That's in our outline. Also, the fog theory, we'll talk about that, and that 40 to maybe 45-day cycle that we're on and how all this is trying to line up together and what does it mean as we get into maybe that first week of December. So it seems like over the next 2-3 weeks, there will be a lot going on. First week here, I think we'll just stay dry with these above average temperatures continuing once we get into tomorrow, because today may end up being below average with cloud cover, easterly winds in eastern KELOLAND, a recent rainfall across eastern South Dakota, Minnesota, and even some showers this morning in northwestern Iowa. And it's mid-November. We need some sunshine if we want to warm. So today, don't be too surprised to see temperatures remain at or slightly below average in eastern South Dakota. There is that better chance for sunshine today in western South Dakota. You start to see some of those clouds do break as we do get into the later part of today. And then for tonight, you'll start to see some clearing here in the south central KELOLAND. Now, with our winds becoming south tomorrow, that will help mix up the atmosphere, scour out some of this cloud cover during the day. But before then, we could have some fog develop, Minnesota, Iowa. We'll see if that does extend into parts of eastern and southeastern South Dakota. You know, with our recent rainfall and this easterly wind holding for the overnight into early tomorrow morning, I wouldn't be surprised if we do have some fog across eastern and southeastern KELOLAND. Dry skies during the day for tomorrow. Dry skies will hold as we do get into Thursday. So our winds today, we are looking at light easterly winds. They'll come in around 5, maybe 15 miles per hour. But it's tomorrow when the winds do change direction. We'll mix up this atmosphere. We could see a couple of these wind gusts, 20, 25 miles per hour. That will combine with the sunshine, help bring in this warmer air as temperatures do return above average. Not overly worried about the winds for the rest of the week as they should remain light. For today, we've had these morning showers. That's the reason behind the percentage of precipitation across eastern and southeastern KELOLAND. For the most part, a lot of those are now gone. We'll have mostly cloudy skies. Temperatures holding in the 30s and 40s for highs in eastern South Dakota. We'll try to bring some sunshine later this afternoon. Western and central South Dakota, even northern South Dakota can see some sun. Temperatures in the 40s to the lower 50s. The warmest weather will be felt across western South Dakota. Tonight, temperatures will fall to the low to middle 30s. Keep in mind, we could see fog in the Minnesota, Iowa. We'll see if any of that does sneak over into South Dakota, and if it does, it will be across extreme eastern and southeastern South Dakota. After the break, we'll talk about some of these rain reports and look at our monthly totals and compare those to average. That's coming up after the break. You're watching Weather or Not. Welcome back to Whether or Not. It's time to talk about some of these rain reports, even some isolated thunder from yesterday. Some decent amounts came in across eastern and southeastern KELOLAND as we had many areas come in at a little bit more than a half inch of rainfall. You could see that in Sioux Falls, officially 53/100ths of an inch of rain. Yankton's coming in, it says around a tenth of an inch, though we did have a couple of heavier showers, even an isolated thunder shower. I was checking the radar on the Storm Tracker app, able to pick up on a couple of those thunder showers just to the north of Yankton. I think that was in the late morning hours. Even extending into the early part of the afternoon, we still had a couple of these isolated thunder showers run through. Mitchell just shy of a half inch, same as Brookings, but Huron coming in at 0.8 of an inch of rainfall. Into northeastern South Dakota, very sharp cutoff. You see Redfield just over 0.4 of an inch, and then 14/100ths in Millette. Aberdeen did not report anything. For central and western South Dakota, you see the amounts in Pierre close to 1/4 of an inch, 0.2 of an inch in Phillip, and about 1/3 of an inch in Rapid City, while Custer had 1/4 of an inch of rainfall. Now, just taking a look, just a quick update as to how we're doing so far this month. As these numbers take us through midnight yesterday. So at midnight, things reset. They're not taking into account anything after midnight. So far through the month of November, we're just shy of 0.9 of an inch in Sioux Falls. That's pretty good considering our climate average is 1.22. Just shy of an inch in Huron, around an inch in Mitchell, about a half in Pierre, and 1/3 of an inch of rainfall so far this month in Rapid City. And it seems like north central and northeastern South Dakota has been skipping out into those locations. 1,500ths in Aberdeen and Watertown, and just 300ths in Mobridge. So those are the areas where we do have that deficit running of around 1/4 to maybe 1/3 of an inch for the month. You see how that does extend from Mobridge, Aberdeen, Watertown, Sisseton close to about a half inch below the average for the month. And then you also see those areas in the south central and southwestern South Dakota also coming in below average, and it's sandwiched in between where we're at or even above average, especially for Huron and Mitchell. Those amounts coming in at least a half to maybe 2/3 of an inch above average when you look at, we'll just say, going through the first half of November. And it may become a little more active, not for this week, but maybe going into the tail end of that Thanksgiving week. That is something that we'll talk more about coming up as we do take a closer look at what to expect for Thanksgiving week. That's coming up right after the break. You're watching Whether or Not. Welcome back to Whether or Not. Time to talk about Thanksgiving week. I thought there were 3 of them. As we are looking at things to remain warm to begin Thanksgiving week, let's first start with our 500 millibar pattern. And we've talked about this many times. We're more or less slicing that atmosphere in half, where we have troughs and ridges, where we may have a couple of high pressures, low pressures try to make their way through the area. So we'll let this play through here. I do have a couple of pauses on it. You can see that closed low into Mexico, and it does make its way into central Texas, eventually trying to move into Oklahoma. Now, this is Tuesday of next week. At the same time as that one stays to our south, it looks like we'll probably have temperatures that will be above average to begin the week. We'll get to those maps coming up here in just a bit, but notice how things do change. Let me go ahead and take this full. Notice how things change. We start to get into this northwest flow right in here, okay? Go ahead and draw the arrows in. So we got that northwest flow, starting to see some colder air trying to come in just in time for Thanksgiving Day. As temperatures may end up being below average during that time, we'll see if that does continue into Friday. And for the second half of I can call it the second half of the Thanksgiving weekend. You take Thursday, Friday at the beginning, Saturday, Sunday there at the end. But we will have to see if we get a storm system to develop and possibly make its way through the central, maybe the northern plains, as we do get into the second half of the Thanksgiving holiday weekend, extending into the beginnings of December, where things may actually really start to change as we bring in some much colder air. So this is what we have going on right now. This is something that I showed during KELOLAND this morning. That's the storm system to our south for this Friday. Okay, temperatures are expected to remain above average for us here in KELOLAND all the way through the rest of the work week. Once we get beyond today, where temperatures will be in the upper 30s to lower 40s, I think we will see these temperatures return above average. Now, this is going into next week. I already have the marquee up there. A warm start to Thanksgiving week. Temperatures will be above average. That's a look at Tuesday. Let's go ahead and continue our slide here through Thanksgiving week. Numbers do eventually fall maybe below average for Thanksgiving Day. And I went ahead and put the climate averages up there as well. So the average high is close to 40 for Thanksgiving Day, November 27th in Sioux Falls. 37 is the climate average in Aberdeen, 40 in Pierre, and 42 in Rapid City. Those overnight lows in the teens and 20. So we are looking at this push of some colder air that will try to come in for Thanksgiving week, or Thanksgiving Day. And then as we get into the first couple of days of December, that's when we start to see a stronger push of this colder air that's coming in during that first week of December. It's a timing issue too, but I think a lot of these models are starting to pick up on bringing in much colder air as we begin the new month, the last month of the year. So we'll have to continue to follow that. Just how much colder will it end up being? So I showed you those temperatures. What's going on with our precipitation during the week? This is Wednesday morning. It has a system to our south. We'll see if that stays to our south. The last one has, or will, for Friday. We were thinking that one may move a little bit farther to the north, something worth watching. Right now, that is keeping things to the south for this Friday. We'll watch into about midweek of next week if this one moves to the north or to the south. As you see that chance for rain to our south and southeast. But this is trying to bring in some snow in the western and northwestern South Dakota around midweek of next week. Let's go ahead and hit the button. And as we do get into Thanksgiving itself, remember I had that colder air come in, but it looks like it should come in dry. We'll have dry conditions for Thanksgiving Day. It's the way it looks right now. What happens after that? As we do get into Black Friday, it's trying to give us some hints of precipitation into northwestern South Dakota. We'll see if that continues to hold and what we'll do with that. But right now, I would say through Thanksgiving, it looks like we will have mostly dry skies. It's what's expected to happen maybe beyond Thanksgiving. And we will take a look at some of the cycles, some of the patterns, and a deeper dive into that extended forecast coming up in our next segment. Stay with us. You're watching Weather or Not. Welcome back to Weather or Not. It's time to talk about the different weather cycles, patterns, and also take a look at our extended forecast during this segment here. So let's go ahead and jump into this pattern. And I just showed you a little bit ago as to when we can maybe see some very cold air come in as we get into the first week of December. May end up following this type of pattern that we've had. Let's go ahead and take this full. Now, this is dating back to, since September, and I have a couple of dates on here. This is for Sioux Falls with their high temperatures, and we had a strong system move through where we had southerly winds to help us warm to the 70s there September 4th and the 90s on October 4th. And then as a front moved through, just a couple of days later, you could see those overnight lows. I just put the lows up there. Fell to 35 on the 7th of September and 38 on October 7th. Let's go ahead and fast forward to, well, this month, November 6th. We had a high temperature of 56, wind gusts coming in at 49 miles per hour. And then November 10th, we fell to a high of 32 and a low of 13. So we had another front move through, though it seems like that one came in a little delayed as compared to what we had in October and September, but we still had something run through at the beginning of the month. Does that mean another one can come in if this cycle or pattern holds true? About every month, we start to see a stronger front move through. We're already starting to see hints of that for that first week of December. So that would be an interesting one to follow, as well as this 40 to 45 day pattern that we can be on for these closed lows that have been moving through the central and the northern plains. Now, this is dating all the way back to October 9th, and these are graphics that I've shown many times already on whether or not. August 9th, September 18th, and then October 29th, they all had these closed lows move through, we'll say, the central plains. Somewhere through the central plains, of course, it developed stormy weather during that time too. So can this next closed low move through during the second week of December after we get this hit of this cold air? We'll see how long this cold air lasts. And then if we have this cold air in place and we have a closed low moving through the central plains, all depends on the position of it as to where it goes, as to what will happen with our weather. But, if these things do hold true, then you can expect some stormier weather to occur as we do get into maybe the first week or 2 weeks of December. What else can we look at? How about this? How about the fog theory? I'll go through Sioux Falls, Aberdeen, and Watertown. Well, it held true for a rain that we had yesterday when we had over a half-inch of rainfall in Sioux Falls. That dates back to having thick fog August 19th. Oh, and look at September 10th. That points to December 9th. Remember the graphic I just showed you when we can expect maybe this next closed low anywhere between the 8th and the 13th of December when you're looking at that 40 to 45 day pattern of seeing these closed lows move through. Okay, so that's Sioux Falls. Next city here is Aberdeen. Well, it pointed to November 16th and 17th from the fog back in August. We had the rain just to the south and southeast of Aberdeen. It's pointing to another one, November 25th, 26th, just before Thanksgiving. And then it has one again after Thanksgiving, November 29th. And then, oh, look at that one, December 8th and 9th. That can be lined up with that closed low that can come through. One more city here, Watertown. Oh, 0.13 of an inch of rainfall from yesterday. So that held true from August 19th of getting their thick fog. And then we have another one coming in November 30th. And, oh, maybe when that closed low comes through on December 9th, we can see a chance for precipitation. And if the other one holds true with getting these hits of cold air, and the models are already picking that up, during that first week of December, closed low, cold air in place, all depends on where the low goes as to if we can get some stormy weather. I'll let you fill in the blanks on that one. What's our next graphic? Oh, what overlaps? I put this together yesterday. I think it's rather cool, doing that old Venn diagram, taking you back to the, grade school, maybe high school days. So what lines up? Sioux Falls, Aberdeen, Watertown all have the 90-day fog theory pointing to December 8th or 9th. The first week of December, that strong cold front, been mentioning that's already starting to show up, and that 40 to 45-day cycle for that closed low to move somewhere through the central plains, that may happen during the second week of December. So we already have a couple of things lining up if you believe in that 90-day fog theory and that 40 to 45-day cycle that we're in. So this is how the extended outlooks are looking right now. This is going out 2 weeks. On the European, it fills a lot of that in the last day of the month, the beginning of December. So November 30th, December 1st, it starts to fill in that precipitation. What falls in the form of snow? Well, a lot of it may end up falling in the form of snow, as we are starting to see some colder air that can arrive around Thanksgiving Day. We'll see if that does last for the rest of the month and beginning of December. But according to the model right here, and I could even move it a little bit, it seems like a lot of that, it wants to fall in the form of snow. That's the way the European model looks right now. How about the American model? As we do bring this in, this is just to look at the precipitation. A lot of it does fall south and southeast of us. Okay, that says that closed low moves through something that we talked about earlier during whether or not during this program, as those closed lows were moving just to the south of us. So that's why it's dropping a lot of that precipitation there. What falls in the form of snow? Well, this is what the American model is thinking. November 28th through the 29th. That lines up pretty close to some of the fog theory for those areas. I think in Watertown, it was pointing to the 28th, 29th. And then another one comes in December 2nd. I think that one as well was pointing to some of the fog theory, 90-day fog theory that we were looking at earlier in the show as well. So we do have a couple of things that are pointing toward the scenarios that we do have with fog, the push of cold air coming in during that first week of December, and also that closed low theory too. So we're already starting to see these models pick up on a lot of these as we do make our way forward in time here. Something else I do want to show you, I do have a couple of minutes left here, but going to one of these forecast models, and every now and then we'll bring up this website. I'll try to run through this rather quickly too, but I do want to point out that this is the Canadian model. It's already pointing to this cold air here toward the tail end of the month. This is Thanksgiving Day. Wants to bring in a temperature of, 9 degrees there. So we can have a low temperature, I think, Thanksgiving morning of 9, according to the Canadian model. What does the American model suggest? We'll bring in this one right here. Same thing. You notice that the cold air does come in, and these, purple colors trying to indicate that as well. That's the American model. How about the European model? We're going to bring this in toward the tail end here. Now, this is going out to December, so it's a little bit farther than what the Canadian was showing. This one goes out to December. Notice how those numbers do fall to the teens and 20s. The one I am saving for last. This is the BK model. This is the European AI version. We bring this in. This is going to December 1st. The AI on the European suggesting that we can see temperatures well below zero. This is pointing at numbers, single digits, teens. I even see a 22 below. Now, for that to happen, we'll have to bring in some snow. And this model is also pointing at that possibility to bring in some snow. Let's go ahead and bring that one up too, and I'll probably just end it on this as well. See how it's trying to bring in that snow during the last day of November, maybe spilling over into the first day of December. So if we have that blanket of snow, in comes that cold air, we could have a real cold snap on our hands here as we get into maybe the first couple of days of December. So things are slowly trying to line up. We'll sort out all those details as we do get closer to that time frame. I think that's a good place to end it. Thank you for watching this latest edition of Weather or Not. Have yourself a great day.